The war against Mexico's cartels has entered uncharted waters. Massive smuggling ships vanish beneath the waves, and the battlefield is now the open ocean. But the United States isn't just watching. The U.S. has unleashed a weapon, leading to a mysterious strike that has left several cartel vessels in ruins. Could advanced torpedoes be behind it, or is something far deadlier at play? And just how far is Washington willing to go to dominate this deadly maritime war? Join us as we uncover the Navy's secret arsenal against the cartels. Since early September, U.S. warships and aircraft have been striking fast boats believed to be smuggling drugs along the South American coast. The operations, led under President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, is one of the most aggressive naval campaigns against cartels in years. Trump, who has often spoken out against the power of cartels in America, believes that these missions are necessary to stop the flow of narcotics before they reach U.S. shores. Both he and Hegseth claim the strikes are lawful under the president's military authority, even without Congress's approval, a move that sparked debate but also strong backing from many in the military community. So far, 10 cartel-linked vessels have been destroyed since the first strike on September 2nd. Each operation has been carried out in international waters, targeting high-speed boats known as narco subs or go-fasts, often packed with cocaine or fentanyl. The most recent mission on October 24 hit a ship tied to Venezuela's feared Tren de Aragua gang, killing 6 suspected traffickers. Most of the action has unfolded across the Caribbean Sea, a major drug corridor connecting South America to the United States. But the campaign has now expanded westward, with 2 confirmed strikes in the Eastern Pacific, an area long used by Colombian cartels to move massive shipments north. The first hit was when U.S. forces, following the president's direct order, targeted a vessel linked to a terrorist-designated group known for drug trafficking. The strike, carried out in international waters, destroyed the boat instantly, killing 2 suspected traffickers on board. A video released by Hegseth showed the dramatic moment, a missile slicing through the sky, hitting a small blue boat racing across the waves before it exploded into flames. Just hours later, Hegseth announced a second operation in the same region. This time, another vessel was struck, leaving 3 more suspected smugglers dead. According to U.S. intelligence, the boat was moving along a known drug route and carrying illegal narcotics bound for Central America. These back-to-back strikes mark the opening of a new front in Trump's maritime war on cartels, one that now stretches from the Caribbean deep into the Pacific. It's a campaign that blurs the line between counter-narcotics and warfare, using precision weapons once aimed at enemy combatants against drug traffickers instead. Supporters call it decisive action against a growing threat. Critics, however, question whether such kinetic strikes on non-state actors in international waters cross legal boundaries. But for the Trump administration, the message is clear. The ocean is no longer a safe haven for the cartels, and the U.S. Navy is ready to hunt wherever the tide takes them. A recent strike has also sparked debate about how the Navy ends high-risk encounters without losing its own. Eyewitness clips and unnamed reports suggested a drone or a helicopter was involved, but people inside the defense world who have seen the footage think a laser-guided Hellfire missile did the job. That weapon hits from a long distance and homes in on a painted target, which explains the clean result. 11 hostile fighters killed and no American losses. That outcome is the goal of every patrol. Stop a threat quickly and bring everyone home. There is a cost for that clarity. In fiscal year 2021, a single Hellfire ran roughly $150,000. That is serious money, but it also buys precision that lowers risk to sailors and Marines. Still, commanders often weigh cost against risk in available alternatives. However, there are 3 different ways a Navy ship might stop a small, fast boat carrying unlawful cargo and dangerous people. These are not instructions, just a look at tools commanders consider when they must act. First, the forward gun. Many destroyers still carry a 5-inch naval gun on the bow. It is a workhorse that can fire at surface boats, support troops ashore, or help defend against aircraft. Its reach can be farther than some guided missiles, and it fires standard shells that are cheaper than high-end missiles. The Navy is also testing a new guided round called a hypervelocity projectile. That round moves much faster and corrects its path in flight, closing the gap between gunfire and guided missiles. It costs more than old shells, but reports put it well below the price of some missiles, as long as it hits quickly. Second, the directed energy option. Navy engineers have been fitting ships with high-power lasers for short-range work. These systems aim a tight beam that can burn through thin structures or set engines on fire. Once installed, a laser uses ship power rather than a fresh missile, which makes each shot far cheaper on paper. The limits are power supply and cooling, but for targets like small boats or unmanned aircraft, the laser is a fast, efficient choice that avoids explosive debris and reduces long-term expenses. Third, put Marines close to the fight. When leaders want decisive results and can accept the risks, they can launch boarding teams from amphibious ships or cutters. Specially trained Marines bring rifles, boarding gear, and the skill to seize a boat, detain suspects, and take control of contraband. This option exposes troops to danger, but keeps engagement tightly controlled and can be the best way to preserve evidence and arrest people rather than destroy everything. Each option carries trade-offs: price, range, chance to recover evidence, and risk to personnel. Missiles buy standoff and speed, but cost more. Guns are reliable and cheaper per round, but may create more chaos in a busy sea lane. Lasers promise low per shot cost once the system is in place, but need robust ship power. Marines offer surgical results and law enforcement value, but put people in harm's way. That delicate balance between cost, control, and consequence took center stage only days later during a high-level meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Wednesday, when President Donald Trump addressed the growing controversy over the recent U.S. strikes against suspected drug smugglers at sea. He reportedly claimed that he did not need permission from Congress or any other body to authorize missile strikes in international waters. Under normal circumstances, the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the sole power to approve military action. However, Trump argued that, as commander-in-chief, he had the authority to confront what he described as terrorist threats, a label he extended to major drug traffickers. He mentioned that he might consult Congress only if operations were to move from sea to land, hinting that such action could soon happen. He said that when land operations began, he would probably brief Congress, not because he had to, but because he preferred to do so. Trump's words suggested that a land-based strike could be imminent, calling it something very serious and comparable to the current sea missions. So far, all U.S. military attacks under this campaign have targeted vessels in open waters. Yet critics argue that these actions make little sense, as government research shows that most drug trafficking happens overland or through official border crossings, not by sea. Human rights advocates have voiced deeper concerns. They warned that the strikes could violate both U.S. and international law, especially since extrajudicial killings outside combat zones are banned. Simply labeling someone a terrorist, they argued, does not legally justify the use of lethal force. The administration has also not shared evidence proving the individuals on the targeted vessels were guilty of crimes. Recently, 3 United Nations experts released a joint statement condemning the campaign, calling it a breach of the UN Charter. They said that attacking targets in international waters without a valid legal basis violated maritime law and amounted to unlawful killings. They also warned that such actions echoed the long and painful history of foreign interventions in Latin America, something the world should not repeat. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, however, doubled down on the administration's stance. He compared drug cartels to terrorist organizations, saying that they were waging war on America just like Al-Qaeda once did. In his written statement, he said that those involved in the drug trade would find no refuge or forgiveness, only justice. But many experts believe the administration's definition of terrorism has been stretched beyond reason. Brian Finucane, a researcher with the International Crisis Group, criticized the move, arguing that there was a vast difference between international terror networks and drug smugglers. He pointed out that there had been no attacks on U.S. soil like the 9th of November, and no declared armed conflict to justify such military measures. To him and others, the campaign looked less like a fight against terrorism and more like the U.S. government taking the law into its own hands. As the debate deepens, one question remains. Is America's new sea war against cartels a bold act of defense, or a dangerous overreach that could reshape how war powers are used in the modern era? Let's recount all the strikes so far. The U.S. Sea campaign began on September 2nd, when President Donald Trump announced through his social media account that he had ordered a kinetic strike earlier that morning. The target was a small vessel moving through international waters. According to Trump, 11 people on board were killed. He described them as terrorists, though their names, destinations, or cargo details were never released, and no proof of their alleged crimes was provided. Trump declared that the attack should serve as a warning to anyone attempting to smuggle drugs into the United States. He accused the victims of being tied to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang, again, without offering evidence. More attacks soon followed. On September 15, another strike hit a vessel in the Caribbean, killing 3 people. 4 days later, on September 19th, a third strike took place, leaving another 3 dead. The campaign showed no sign of slowing down. By October, the operations had become routine. On October 3rd, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that a 4th strike had been carried out, killing 4 individuals. Less than 2 weeks later, on October 14th, another attack killed 6 more people. The 6th strike, on October 16th, marked a major shift. The U.S. military reported targeting what it called a submarine believed to be transporting drugs. 2 people were killed in the blast, but 2 others survived. Both survivors were repatriated, one to Ecuador and one to Colombia. Later, Ecuador's government released its citizen, explaining that investigators found no evidence linking him to any crime. Only a day later, on October 17th, another U.S. airstrike hit a separate vessel, killing 3 more. This time, the Trump administration claimed the victims were members of Colombia's National Liberation Army, a long-running rebel faction with ties to drug trafficking. By Tuesday, the campaign had expanded beyond the Caribbean. New reports revealed that the latest airstrikes were conducted near Colombia's Pacific coastline, showing that the conflict had spread across 2 oceans. For U.S. forces, the mission was evolving fast. What started as a single warning strike had turned into a full-blown offensive stretching across the Caribbean and Pacific. But with growing doubts from foreign governments and human rights groups, questions lingered over how far this new kind of war would go, and whether the line between law enforcement and warfare had already been crossed. Now the wave of 9 precision strikes has reignited old hostilities, this time between Washington and 2 powerful voices in South America, Colombia's Gustavo Petro and Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. At the United Nations, Venezuela's envoy, Samuel Reynaldo Moncada, stood before the Security Council, pleading for the bombings to stop. He warned that the world was watching the edge of an international crime unfold. His words may have echoed through the chamber, but on the water, the U.S. Navy and Venezuelan forces were already circling each other in a tense military buildup stretching across the Caribbean Sea. The clash between Donald Trump and Nicolas Maduro isn't new. It's a rivalry that's been brewing for years. Back in Trump's first term, he unleashed what he called a campaign of maximum pressure on the Venezuelan leader, aiming to weaken his hold on power. The plan didn't end there. When Trump returned to the White House for a second term, he doubled down. This time, he raised the bounty on Maduro's arrest to $50 million, a clear sign that diplomacy had taken a back seat to direct confrontation. Soon after, Trump gave the green light for the CIA to launch secret missions inside Venezuela. Covert operations, intelligence gathering, and special tactics became part of a quiet but dangerous game. While no one in Washington would speak openly about the missions, their presence was felt from Caracas to the Caribbean coast. Maduro, meanwhile, became more than just an adversary. He became a political weapon in Trump's larger agenda. The American president often pointed to the Venezuelan leader as proof of why he needed broader executive powers. When pushing his mass deportation campaign under the old wartime Alien Enemies Act, Trump justified it by naming Maduro as a national security threat. Then came an explosive accusation. Trump and his top advisors claimed that Maduro had orchestrated a secret invasion of the United States through the Venezuelan criminal network known as Tren de Aragua. The group, notorious for smuggling and violence across Latin America, suddenly became a centerpiece of Trump's speeches and campaign rallies. But the story started to unravel. U.S. intelligence reports later painted a different picture. A recently declassified memo from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, released in May, revealed there was no solid proof linking Maduro to the gang's operations. In short, the claims didn't match the evidence. Still, inside the halls of power, the momentum had already shifted. With U.S. bombers flying low over the Caribbean and tensions crackling across the region, one thing was clear. The standoff between Trump and Maduro was far from over. Each move, each strike, and each speech was adding fuel to a fire that could easily spread beyond Venezuela's borders. For now, the world watches and waits as the Caribbean turns into the latest front line of political power, covert warfare, and the age-old struggle for control in the Western Hemisphere. But while ships and strategies clash at sea, another battle is unfolding on land, this time in the political arena. Tensions have flared again between former U.S. President Donald Trump and Colombia's President Gustavo Petro, turning what began as a policy disagreement into a heated war of words. Trump, known for his tough talk on crime and drugs, accused Petro of letting narcotics pour freely out of Colombia, long known as the world's top coca producer. He didn't hold back, calling Petro a thug and warning that the United States might take serious action if things don't change. According to Trump, Petro's leadership has turned Colombia into what he called a death trap. The sharp warning came during one of Trump's public appearances, where he made it clear that his patience was wearing thin. Petro, never one to stay silent, fired back almost immediately on X, the platform once known as Twitter. He threatened to sue Trump in a U.S. court, accusing him of slander and defamation. In his response, Petro declared that he stood firmly against genocide and the use of power for murder in the Caribbean. His words hinted at a deeper anger over how Washington has handled its military actions in Latin America. To him, Trump's statements weren't just political attacks. They were a challenge to Colombia's dignity. Petro, a former guerrilla fighter who rose to the presidency through left-wing politics, has long been one of Trump's most outspoken critics among global leaders. Their clash isn't new. The two have traded blows before over immigration, deportations, and America's long-running war on drugs. What makes this latest confrontation different is how personal it has become. Trump recently told Congress that drug traffickers should be treated as unlawful combatants, a label usually reserved for terrorists. His statement suggests he sees the fight against cartels as a form of warfare, one that could justify aggressive U.S. military action. Petro, on the other hand, has argued that this approach only creates more casualties among innocent civilians. He pointed to the death of a Colombian fisherman named Alejandro Carranza, who he said had no links to drug trafficking. Petro claimed that Carranza was killed during an American bombing raid in Colombian waters, an operation meant to target smuggling routes. His only crime was fishing, Petro wrote online, using the man's story to criticize what he calls the reckless nature of U.S. strikes. That accusation was followed by an even stronger one. Petro accused the U.S. government of murder and of violating Colombia's sovereignty. For him, the issue isn't just about drugs, it's about respect and national pride. What's unfolding between Trump and Petro is more than a political argument. It's a new chapter in the decades-long debate over how far the U.S. should go in its war on drugs, and how much power smaller nations have to push back. Both men see themselves as defenders of their countries, but their versions of justice couldn't be more different. Also, experts on U.S.-Mexico relations have warned that the Trump administration's reported plans for military operations against cartels in Mexico could be seen as an act of aggression with dangerous consequences. They believe it also shows a misunderstanding of how these groups actually operate. Without Mexico's consent, such action would violate international law. While the U.S. might claim self-defense, this right only applies to direct armed attacks, not to crimes by non-state groups like drug cartels. Thanks for watching. Before you go, click the link on your screen to check out another video. See you there.